I'll show you the Kaioken!
Hey guys, I'm Wayne,
And I'm Chris.
and this is Bustin D&D Experience. This is our very first episode. We're going to talk about D&D, why to play in D&D, why we play D&D, fundamentals, and then
And we also have a lot of lore that we might share with you guys, stories, and just why we play D&D.
Exactly. So, if you'd love to see more episodes, please like, follow, and subscribe, and we'll make more for you guys.
So Wayne, why do you play D&D?
Well, I started playing D&D Pathfinder, about
I remember those days.
6 years ago, and I remember I started with Brandon and a few others, and we had no idea how to play. We were just all over the place. You know, my wizard would cast 9th level spells at will, and it was fun, but we didn't understand fundamentals. We had no idea how to play. We had no idea how to do ability checks until we found D&D, and that was more of a structure type of game, and I kind of fell in love with it. And
Yeah.
then I know we introduced you to D&D.
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah, just to add on with the Pathfinder thing, I remember having a paladin that could smite at range. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely not how
You
it
cannot
works.
smite at range.
Which that brings me into our Mongo segment. So throughout our videos, we might have a Mongo segment,
Well,
And that-
Mongo the Barbarian.
Mongo the Barbarian. So we'll just go in and explain that, what not to do.
Yeah.
So we'll touch on that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But
If we
so,
get yeah.
if we get to
if
a
we
point.
continue videos, yeah.
So
So let's talk about why do you think D&D is so fun?
why is it so fun? Well, literally, you have 3 to 4 players. You have a dungeon master. The dungeon master comes up with the story, and they keep order and role in the game.
Yeah, they're gods.
Pretty much.
They're
Pretty
the
much.
gods of the table, yeah.
And pretty much, if you want to be an archer that casts spells, if you want to be a wizard, all the way to just a barbarian, you can do it.
Yeah.
If you want to be good, bad, or somewhere in between, if you want to be a sneaky rogue that goes in and just steals and just messes with the whole party, you can do it. So there's so much versatility in this game that you can't really get in playing a video game.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, you can literally live out, your favorite moves. I mean, one of my favorite classes is a wizard because growing up, I loved Gandalf and I loved Harry Potter, and I can literally just live that out in this game through my own little way. And that's one of the reasons I play, is because if you have an imagination, you're going to love this game. Because whatever you can think of is what you can do, and that's what I love the most. And so...
And I'm paladin all the way, so
Yeah.
it touches my heart.
But there's many different classes, many different ways that we'll get into. But why do you think, if someone wanted to get in D&D, why do you think they would get into it? What would you tell them?
It's just an awesome way to hang out with your friends and just to forget about world events that's going on and just play some games.
Especially now, with everything going on. I mean, the only really social interactions we have is getting together and playing D&D. And it's brought us closer together, especially as friends.
It has.
Meeting new people. And I think D&D is a great social thing. Just
It
meeting
is.
people.
It very much is. And there's been laughs, and there's been a few times where we've gotten aggravated with each other, like rivalries.
You roll a 1 when you really need to roll that 16.
Yep. I love the story building and interacting with characters. Also strategy. Strategy is a big part in this game.
There's a lot of strategy in this game.
Because if you have a full party of just fighters,
You're gonna die.
You're probably gonna die. There's healers in this game. You got wizards, spellcasters. You have ranged, and they've added in expansions where you can even have a musket.
Yeah. Gunslinger.
It's actually a pretty cool class.
So that's the reason why you play this game, is to play these classes. And the classes range from spellcasters, which is wizards, sorcerers, clerics, warlocks, and then you have your fighter classes, which are
Well, you obviously have fighter, you have barbarian, you have a paladin. They're also spellcasters, but they're a little bit on the lower end of the spectrum.
They're like a utility tool. They can do everything.
Yeah, yeah, and they're also healers. Not as good as the cleric.
Yeah.
You have rangers. They're also spellcasters, but they're
They're at range. Yeah.
they're. I mean, depending on how you build it, they're more at range. And am I missing anything?
Rogue.
Rogue. Yep.
Rogue.
How can I forget the rogue?
If you want to sneak around and be mischievous and really mess with the party, you can be a rogue. And also, there's the monk, the forgotten monk,
The monk.
which is very, very underutilized. I know I've ruined your campaign with a monk.
My very first campaign I DM'd, he ruined it with a shadow monk. So.
Yeah, he let me be a monk, and he did not realize that I could do a stunning blow and kill his death knight. And not his death knight didn't even have a turn.
Nope.
Because I would just stunning blow him, and everybody else would do DPS. It was very fun for me and not very fun for you.
No, it wasn't. But you learn a lot. You learn a
do.
lot.
And there's also homebrews and UA and different expansions where you have, many different races. So we have elf, human, orc, half orc, and many, many others that we could cover in others. But those are the base races that you kind of base off. And that's kind of how you build your characters. You pick a race, and then you pick a class. And the thing that it sounds simple, but I could have a wizard and you could have a wizard, and they could be two completely different characters.
Well, depending on your race, let's say you're a human versus an elf. Well, depending on what type of human, you can get an increase on one stat, as opposed to if you're an elf. Well, elves are very quick and nimble. You get an increase on your dexterity stat.
Yeah.
So it just depends on how you want to play and how you build them.
But you have to be careful what races you pick for the class. If you want to be a sorcerer and you pick an orc, you're probably not going to have a good time.
No.
Because orcs are very strong constitution, and sorcerers are based on charisma and I would even say wisdom. So you have to be careful what you choose.
Certain races are better for certain classes. Most definitely.
So what are some of the attributes?
Well, there's 6 main attributes. You have strength, which obviously how strong you are. You have dexterity, which is how quick and nimble. Rogues like this, they have a skill called sleight of hand. That's like pickpocketing or how fast you can reload things. You have constitution, which is your overall health.
Yeah.
And how resistant you are to poisons, diseases. You have intelligence, which is your book smart.
Yeah. Not many classes use that.
Yeah, no. Wisdom is kind of like your street smarts, experience,
Gritty soldier that you think of.
And finally, my favorite, which is the paladin's strong point, charisma.
And charisma is really important if you want to role play, and that's something we haven't touched on. Is this game is based on role playing, and the more role playing you do, the better experience it's going to be. It may be awkward at first, especially if you play with 3 or 4 people that have been playing for years and have no shame, and will talk in horrible British accents for 4 hours. But you get comfortable and it's fun, and that's the whole point of the game is trying to role play. So if you want to role play, pick a character with a lot of charisma. If you have 8 charisma, you're not going to be very well at talking in certain situations. You're going to be very awkward.
So let's explain that a little bit more. So you have these ability scores, and we'll say a normal commoner has just a 10 score all the way down. And the higher your skill goes, the better you get at it. So 10, you get bonuses on top of what you do. So if it's a 10, you just get 0. That's like the par score, your average.
An average human. Yeah.
So let's say you have a 14 score on one of them. That means you're exceptionally well at doing this particular feat. Let's say your strength of 14.
Yeah.
You're stronger than the average Joe.
And you always go incremental too. So if you go 10, you're 0. So when you go 10 to 11, it's still 0. But once you hit the 12, an even number, it's +1. And the same with 14 to 16 to 18 to 20. By the rules, you can't go above 20.
But there's been some homebrew.
You can homebrew.
Where if you got a really cool character, we bend the rules a little bit.
We
That's
bend the
kind of
rules.
what a homebrew is, or house rules. You can bend the official rules to kind of fit your table's needs, but just consult your DM on that and see what they say.
And house rules are very important because some of the rules that we do, we don't really follow. I look at the rules, the book, as a guideline of what to do and what not to do. But some of the rules we say, that doesn't really make sense, let's just do this. And make sure the whole table agrees and the DM agrees. And you can make it a house rule, and that's completely fine. If they make the game better for you guys, then do it. So then we talk about strength. We'll talk about my favorite, which is intelligence.
Of course, the wizard.
And,
a wizard's most important
yes.
feat.
It's really the only feat, they're the only skill you really need for a wizard, maybe Constitution. But, and charisma if you want to be
maybe wisdom if you want to be wise.
Maybe.
But it's mostly they're very book smart.
Yes.
That's the wizard's strong point.
So yeah, intelligence is just book smarts. Arcana checks and stuff like that. It really helps. We'll get into that in later videos of why you need high intelligence for this class and why you don't. But so yeah, intelligence is basically just book smarts. And then we have dexterity, which is how fast and nimble you are. So a ranger or a rogue will have very high dexterity.
So if we can make an example, Legolas would be very dexterous. He's very quick and nimble. He's good with the bow.
He's literally
very fast.
Yeah.
And then you could say Gandalf is very smart, very wise. And then Aragorn is, he's probably more all around, but I would say his strength is.
Well, we can say Gimli.
Gimli's very strong.
All about strength.
Yep.
His strength would be 20, and his intelligence would be 0. So that's how you.
10, but plus 0.
Yeah. So honestly, that's how we base a lot of our information is from movies and pop culture, and that's how I kind of gauge certain characters. It's like, well, what would Gandalf have as a wizard? Well, he'd have high intelligence, low strength, even though he was a fighter at some points.
Gandalf was just amazing.
He was amazing.
You shall not pass.
And then you have Constitution. Which Constitution, you explained, is all about your will to live and how much punishment you can take.
Right.
Which is very important for paladins, barbarians, fighters, and even spellcasters to hold that concentration.
Pretty much a frontline fighter, which you can call them a tank, frontline fighter, whatever. They're going to need a higher Constitution score just to keep their overall HP up, so that they can take that punishment.
And we could talk way more in depth in other videos.
And we'll go in further. So how do you play the game? If you want to ask that question, how would you play?
Oh man, I don't know where to begin.
You want to let's go over the basics. So in D&D, you have what's called a D20. This is one of probably the most important dice in the game. Any action you make, if you say, I'm going to run over here and hide, or I'm going to attack this guy, or I'm just going to sit back and stay back in the shadows, you have to roll a D20, and whatever the number is, you tell the DM, and he tells you if you fail or succeed. Mm-hmm. And then you also get skills that you're good at that you can add on top of that.
Which is where the strength and constitution and all that come into play. And it's very, very in-depth, and it may seem very, very overwhelming at first, but I promise you it's not. Just make sure you have a good DM or a good YouTube video to watch to explain the games and explain how to play. Because it seems complicated and you're going to get overwhelmed, but I promise you it's very simple, and you have this character sheet to explain everything to you.
But that's why we're here.
That's why we're here. And that's why we're to tell you how to play. So, if you'd like to see more of this, and to today's video we just kind of explained why play D&D.
And why we're passionate about it.
Why we're so passionate, and why you want to get into it. For the next video, we'd love to talk about the fundamentals and actually how to, use strength in a certain situation with a paladin and a cleric fighting fire demons. Of why I would roll a strength check, or why I would do a spell DC.
And we could get into all that, but there is just so much to this game that we can't just cover in one session. So, be sure to tune in for further episodes.
We're forgetting one thing that I'm kind of ashamed we didn't admit: the #1 rule of D&D. What is it?
It's to have fun.
To have fun.
Absolutely.
All these rules and stuff, it doesn't matter unless you have fun. And that's primarily is why we play, is to have fun.
We definitely do that.
We do. We have a lot of fun and frustration at times.
Yeah, we do. So yeah, if you guys like this, just smash that like button, subscribe, and we're gonna be coming out with more D&D content. And you know, we just want to share our passion with you guys, and hopefully we can inspire some people to get out there and play some D&D.
And if you see the video and you watch it, leave a comment below of what you'd like to see if you're a new player and you'd like to see discuss.
And we're gonna do our best to stay up to date and reach out to you guys if you have any questions, comments, concerns, and we're here for you guys. So,
Yes.
So we'll see you in the next session.
Now I'll show you the Kaioken!